Blessed be all of my people out there. In this video, we're going to be answering a question that was submitted by my good friend and beloved soul brother, Curtis. And before we go further with this, I want to say to Curtis publicly a huge fucking thank you. Thank you for writing me all of these questions you wrote me. I actually requested a few weeks ago from Curtis because he's a really, really smart person. He's also really enthusiastic and really dedicated and disciplined on his path. You know, he's very passionate, practitioner, a very passionate wizard in training, and he asks amazing questions. And the truth of the matter is that sometimes it's hard for me to think of something to talk about. And when I don't have questions coming from, my audiences, I kind of feel like I'm just talking into empty space in a vacuum. And whenever I get good questions and whenever somebody wants to reach out and they show a passion for the art, it really gets me excited because I'm really passionate about this. I'm really all about being able to dive in deep with people. And so, Curtis, I just got to say publicly, honestly, you are one of the people that really makes this worthwhile and makes this feel like, okay, I am actually reaching people who are passionate about spiritual work, magical work, and the practice and the art and the dedication. And it really moves me how this handful of questions, and we'll come back and talk about more of these questions in more videos, has kind of rejuvenated me in a big way. Because again, sometimes when you don't have questions and it doesn't feel like there's a conversation going on when you're talking about your art, your passion, and your craft, it can suck the life out of you, and so it's really good whenever these questions show up. It really, really makes my day, month. So what is this question? Well, the question here is also, again, just a really good topic of discussion for anyone learning, and that is, why do some people see apparitions or have paranormal experiences while most of us go our whole lives wishing to but never experience it? Is it because only a few people can tap into a certain part of their brain that most of us can't? And that's his question. And so there's a lot to unpack here, but when you're talking about seeing apparitions or having paranormal experiences, you have to remember that there's a lot going on besides just, did I engage a part of my brain? What can I do to engage a part of my brain? So some people are born with the ability to see energy, see spirits, see auras, see entities, and things like that. And some people don't have that turned on. A lot of people do, actually. A great deal of people, the majority, as far as I've been, able to make acquaintance with, do. But they lose that ability. It's almost like it disappears as they grow up. It disappears as they mature. And most people I've talked to about this kind of thing, it seems to like fade away by the time they get to about 7 or 8 years old. And this is a part of us. It's a part of all of us. It's not necessarily like this person can and this person can't, this person should and this person shouldn't. But it's really about, well, how are we using this muscle, right? And that is the thing when it comes to magic and when it comes to any kind of spiritual gift or talent. Use it or lose it. Develop it or dissipate it. And what happens to a lot of people is that they don't really get a chance to use it. They don't get a chance to keep that muscle going, and so it atrophies and fades away. And there's all kinds of reasons as to why that might happen. Some people do try to just immediately go straight into things like brain waves and, brain location engagement with certain meditations. People try diet, people try fasting, people try meditation, and all of these things. But in actuality, this isn't something that you have to go out of your way to activate. There are certain things that you can do to give yourself a jump or to activate it. And sometimes you can do certain spells or certain workings that will get that mojo going. But in actuality, what's happening is that you are just re-engaging a part of yourself, a part of your own energy field that you might, or one might, I should say, have no real practice with using or engaging. You know, it's kind of like learning to chew again, or learning to walk again, or, you know, learning how to, you know, coordinate your limbs again. That's really what's going on when we're engaging these things. And what we're talking about when it comes to the spiritual sight or the spectral sight, you know, we're talking about the mind's eye. And it doesn't take a rigorous amount of effort to go about re-engaging the mind's eye or the third eye. You know, there's a lot of stuff out there right now that, you know, kind of put people through the ringer, and they're still not successful at all. People going crazy with diets, crazy with this, crazy with restrictions here. And they're kind of going about it in a backwards fashion. Remember, some of us were able to keep this thing on and keep engaging it while eating McDonald's and drinking Coke and smoking cigarettes and drinking a pot of coffee a day. You know, I mean, it's not about your diet. It's not about whether or not you're doing this or that. It's about you knowing how to engage aspects of yourself, your own skills, and your own abilities, and hone them. So in brief, let's talk a little bit about the mind's eye and or the third eye, however you want to term it. So it's an energy center. Some people call it the third eye chakra, the brow chakra. I call it the mind's eye because that's what it was to me when I was learning. It's the mind's eye. It is the ability to basically have a third eye. That's why they call it the third eye, that presents to you, I guess you could say through your mind, through your brain, a perception of what is going on in the world around you that your physical eyes do not see. And a lot of people have this working for them and they don't know it. That was my experience with starting to delve into this. I remember when I was maybe 20 and I was, you know, kind of feeling like I never got the third eye on because of all of the literature that I was looking at and all I was taking in, and all of these people, you know, swooning over the thought. But what really was going on is my third eye and my mind's eye were actually on. It's just that to me it was no big deal. I didn't know that. And a lot of people out there, and maybe you, Curtis, and maybe a lot of you in the audience, could use this as a little bit of a wake-up call. When you are looking at anything, right? Say you're staring out into a room, okay? Your naked eyes, your physical eyes are going to be giving you a scope of whatever space you're in, right? The office, the living room, the kitchen, and you're going to be picking up on everything that's there, right? The floor, what's on the walls, everything there. If your mind's eye or your third eye is open, you might notice almost in the beginning like a background energy, or you might notice almost like a background visual or something that feels like it's inside your head that is also getting imagery. And you might be feeling like in the beginning, okay, this is my imagination. This is something that I'm just kind of projecting. This is something that I'm making up. But your third eye is here. It's inside. And when you clear your mind and you genuinely look, you can feel this sensation of your brow opening up and looking into your space alongside your eyes. And a good way to train yourself with that is to just sit quietly, right? Still your mind as best you can. Any kind of thoughts running around in the background, any kind of noise or whatever, let it be. Find something to look at in front of you. Okay, so I'm looking at one of my many fans, and relax. And instead of staring out your eyes, out your eyeballs at your object of focus, bring all of your attention into your brow, almost as though you are going to look through your brow, because you are, and then look and see if you see anything. Now, you might not see anything at all, right? It might not look like anything has changed in the room, probably because there's nothing there. If there is something there, you might see something, but you need to be ready to relax and just look. Now, when I do mine, I kind of see what almost feels like an overlay. Like I see the physical world with my naked eyes, and then I see an overlay of my mind's eye perception on top of everything else. And that could be kind of tricky to realize that you're actually looking with two different instruments at once. But that can be a big help in learning how to hone this ability. Sometimes, and I've tried this before, but you got to be very careful with it, I can actually use my mind's eye to navigate in the dark. I've done that, when the power went out one time, I kind of noticed, I was like, how come I can see everything just kind of clear as day? Like, it doesn't feel like it's super dark in here. And I'm walking around. You don't want to do that right in the beginning. Don't hurt yourself. Don't wander around with your eyes closed or wander around in the dark in a dirty room. Use some common sense. But see if you can't, with your mind's eye, not necessarily through your memory of the room or your space, but just through your mind's eye, look. Look as though you were trying to look with your naked eyes. Now, sometimes you can see things. You could also make a game of looking around without your eyes open. I remember when I was probably freshman, sophomore in high school, so I was still in my early years of my witchy practice, and I used to go to the pool at my friend Brittany's apartment complex, and it was her, my friend Jared, and me. And Jared is actually the name of the friend who introduced me to magic after he realized I was kind of a weirdo with a lot of ESP. But we used to go play Marco Polo in the pool. And how I realized that I could see auras was when it was my turn to do the seeking with Marco Polo, I would actually see in my mind's eye little blobs, little auras of where they were. And Brittany was the white aura and Jared was the green aura. And I could differentiate each person. And so that's also kind of nice. If you can actually do this with people, if you could do this with friends or with your kids or with partners, that's the nice thing. That's why it sucks so much that everyone and their mother is trying to do this all online and alone. You need to be able to do this with people because that can be a way to help jumpstart your work as well. But that's just an idea, when it comes to eyes closed kind of training. Just be careful. Don't be wandering around in the dark. I don't want to hear about people like stepping on tacks and nails and running out into traffic and doing, again, horse shit. I don't want you all doing that. But just some thoughts about how this might, how you might safely attempt something like this. You might see some energy. You might see some waves coming off things in your house. You might see certain patterns or a cloud of mist somewhere, or you might notice something kind of fuzzy. But what you're doing is you're training yourself. You're training your aura, your energy bodies, and your third eye to be on without having to be, activated or engaged every single time. The reason we do that is because eventually we train ourselves to be as we were when our naked eyes, our physical eyes, and our mind's eye were always on together and in sync. And the more that you practice that, the more you will actually be able to see. Sometimes there are things that can, mess with our ability to perceive through our mind's eye. Whether it's attachments to other people, the energies of our space, the density of our space, distracting thoughts, distracting emotions. And you do need to be careful because just because your third eye or your mind's eye is open doesn't necessarily mean it's always going to tell you the truth about what you perceive. You're just seeing what's unseen. You're not seeing, it's not a barometer of truth, right? Truth detection actually happens in the heart chakras, the primary heart chakra and the higher heart chakra. It does not actually, truth detection doesn't happen in the third eye. The third eye just perceives what is unseen. And again, what is unseen isn't always true in and of itself, right? Which is why sometimes, things like mental messages and veils and things like that, right? Those can all be picked up on by the third eye, but it's not filtering out the truth from the lie. More on that maybe in another video. But in truth, it is actually just something about it. It's something that's not practiced. It's not trained. And it can be very hard because sometimes we expect, oh, if my third eye's open, then I'm going to see everything clear as day instantaneously, and it's going to be almost as clear as when I have my naked eyes open. No, it's not. That is something that needs to be trained and it needs to be developed. And you also need to be able to know how to bring your primary focus into your mind's eye. So it's like, okay, I'm looking at the fan with my naked eyes, and now I'm going to focus on looking at the fan with my mind's eye. That could be a good practice. Sometimes you have to sit with it for a little bit. Sometimes you have to be able to look and see, for a minute. Then you might see, oh, there's a puff of this kind of energy moving in front of me. There's something over here moving over there. There might be something kind of phasing in, phasing out. It is something that you want to take care not to get overly invested in, because the more emotional or mental contamination in your practices like this, the more it will actually set you back or set you off track. So make sure that, you maybe take some measures in the beginning to calm yourself down, center yourself, cleanse and clear yourself and your space, just ring a few bells, ring a few bowls, light some incense, and then train yourself to see by learning how to focus on something with your naked eye, then close your eyeballs, well, not close your eyeballs, but close your eyelids, and then focus on looking to see with your mind's eye. And it's going to seem kind of weird in the beginning because it's almost like you're seeing a movie projection. That's how it feels to me. It's almost like something's projecting a movie or a film. Like the front of my brow is actually a screen facing inward to my mind. But that's the best way I can articulate what it's like to have your mind's eye and your third eye open. And maybe that can also help you to, maybe develop some trust in some of the practices that you're already doing. That's the other thing. When it comes to this kind of work, kind of like doing divination, you need to be able to go in without judgment, but go in with good faith. Now, judgment means not judging something as right or wrong, good or bad, right? If we're judging everything as negative, that's not going to be good. We're going to slant our perspective. If we judge everything as positive, we are going to, also slant everything, and that's not good either. What we want to do is we want to make sure that we are going in neutral and clear. I just want to see what's here. I'm just going to see what's here. And the more aware but detached you are, the easier it will be to train that mind's eye. So, Curtis, I hope this maybe gives you some insight as to how you can develop, where you can get started. It is something that we all have as a capacity within us. Some people are born with certain proclivities that are stronger and more turned on than others. Some people are, they have the sight first. Some people have clairaudience first. They can hear things first. I have a funny one where I have clairalience, which is the ability to smell. And that could be kind of a funny one. Maybe I'll tell some stories about that one every once in a while. I have an ex-boyfriend that he and I used to be able to smell each other when we would think of each other. So that was kind of an interesting one. But I think we're going to call it here for this one. I don't want this to ramble on too much because I want to make sure that, maybe you want to take some time to play with this for a little bit. And for those of you who, felt so maybe inspired or maybe this had some things click for you. Maybe this is some good click material for certain areas of your life where there might be some gaps in your spiritual practice. I hope it helps. And I thank you again, Curtis, for your question. Much love to you and always appreciation for every question you ask. So for you all out there, I'm going to say, I hope you all enjoy this. I hope that you go out and practice, and I hope that this helps you to re-engage your mind's eye and your third eye. And if you enjoyed this video, like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate it. And of course, I will be back with more videos for you all soon. Take care.